Are we streaming?
Unless you're bringing something
we are. Not yet, anybody. Incredible.
Camera's right.
So now, take it down.
Great, we're ready?
I was trying to get a head start tuning before. Okay, well, Alvaro has already tried to throw his guitar.
No, I'm saying
Huh?
you guys
No, Dan can sing.
I need to see the video for Alvaro.
Yeah.
Sharing the, also, okay, I'll just read another two.
Oh, is that already?
Yeah, good to see you. Conrad too.
Yeah, indeed with private.
Where is my...
Oh, is this your bag?
Yeah.
Wait, is this it?
Yeah, we're in the set for those who want to
You know,
The one? Yeah. Perfect.
Hello.
All right. Well, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. And it's,
The whole 9 yards now.
I'm Lauren. Hi. I'm Marissa.
Do we have another one?
we know them, yeah, we... What is this one anyways?
I don't know.
yeah, so I need my feet.
It's something from the... Yeah, this could be from the...
Yeah, Wednesday.
On top of it, let's not have You're still grading?
Oh, yeah. Soon will be grading again.
This weekend.
Even
Okay, there is one person
I'm
online.
not paid by the hour, so I don't care.
by package they take is
One person online.
I'm selling.
Someone is watching from somewhere.
Yeah, they're watching me from right there.
yeah,
when I'm sleeping.
You know, you have all these.
So, okay, Shabbat Shalom, it's great to be under the sukkah together. Wow, what a wonderful sukkah that you guys have built. Ramsey and others, Matt as well. It's beautiful here. And warm for Singapore. Quite cool for Singapore.
Yeah, it's quite cool.
It's really good. So we're going to do the Kabbalat Shabbat service. As Gabby has said, we are online, so we should all wish our one viewer a big Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Wherever you're from.
Whether you're tuning in Seoul, Korea, that we know some of you tune in from Seoul, or whether you're Gabby's mum in Israel, let's say it again. Shabbat Shalom and Hag Sameach.
It's Gabby's mum for sure. Gabby's mum.
Fantastic. So we're going to begin by the lighting of the candles, and I wonder whether Alexander and Leonard, you'd like to light a candle each with the help of your parents. Let's all stand up. Here's the lighter. I don't know if you're experienced with lighters. With the help of your parents.
Your man and however. We'll do one.
You want eyes?
This is how I usually light myself. Yeah, really takes out the smokiness from the rest of us.
Oh, after all that. A trick can't. Who brought trick?
¿Te acuerdas de quién me mató? Sí, menor, do menor. Sí, mayor.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Let's sit down. We're repeating myself. If you're following pages, if you can see, it's on page 128.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד.
On these two pages we have a whole repertoire of Shabbat songs. If there's anyone who has a favourite they'd like to do, just please shout up. Otherwise we're going to do Yedid Nefesh.
Alright.
Yedid Nefesh Avrahman, Yedid Nefesh Avrahman, Mishorcha Lecha, Eretz Zonecha, Mishorcha Lecha, Yadalai Lai Lai, Eretz Zonecha, Yadut Tzavtecha, Kedemo Hayad, Ishchata V'Lai Lai Lai, Yadalai Lai Lai, Elu Hadarecha, Yadut Tzavtecha, Kedemo Hayad, Ishchata V'Lai Lai Lai, Yadalai Lai Lai, Elu Hadarecha.
And let us move to Lecha Dodi. Find it. Page 138. I'm open to offers in terms of which version. Anyone have a favourite?
This one?
It's fine sounding.
לקראת קהלה, הנה שבת מקבלה. וחדורי לקראת קהלה, הנה שבת מקבלה. שמור זכור בדיבור אחד השמיענו, אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד שמו תפארת ונתינה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, הנה שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, הנה שבת מקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו בניך כי מקור עליך מראש מקדם. נעשוך סוף מעשה במחשבת תחילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, הנה שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, הנה שבת מקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה קומיצי, מתוך החכך עליו לשבת. ימך עמך הוא יחמוד עלי
חמלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. הנה ערים מאפקו מלשי בגדי, תתפתחני על ידי שי, ותלך מקרוב אל השאלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בעורך כל מאורי, אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקמי, מה תשתחי, ומה תמי בך יחסו, אני אהיה עמי ונתר, תהייתי לה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. וחיו לנשיסה שסייך, ולחכו כל בעלייך, יסיס עלייך, אלוהייך, יצוס חתן, חתן הכלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ימין ושמאל תפוצי את אדוני, תריצי על יד ישבן, בהן פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום התבלה, גם לשמחה ובצער תוך אמונה, עם סגולה בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Fantastic. So we rose and we entered to let the Shabbos bride into our sukkah, and we greet them as our queen, the queen of the sukkah. And maybe we continue with Shalom Aleichem. Reverse, which is page 142.
I know that was okay. Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
don't know if any of you have any weird and wacky tales of sukkahs you've visited in past years and yesteryear. In the UHC, this is the 5th time I've celebrated Sukkot with the community. One year we were hazed out, we had to cancel. We built our sukkah, but we had to cancel everything because the air quality was so appalling. Children weren't allowed to go to school. Even worse, 2015, I think, than it was this year, those of you that remember. And I think it was 2 years ago now that we had a sukkah which we built again and all ready to use, when suddenly there was a big, like a massive rainstorm and a big flood in our sukkah, and which just the hour that Sukkot was about to begin, and we ended up desperately trying to cancel people coming onto our host because the roads were awash and the sukkah was awash. Half the people came anyway, and so then people were upset because we had a sukkah party where we cancelled it for some people, but we decided to go ahead for others. So it hasn't been very successful some years here in Singapore, but this year I think we've had, and we have a beautiful sukkah on stable ground. The haze has dissipated, seems to have passed for the time being, and the rains are not yet upon us, so I think we can count this as a good year. Has anyone been in a sukkah in a wild and exotic place? You know you're allowed to build a sukkah on a camel or on a boat. You're allowed to build one with an elephant, maybe as one of the walls. It's a discussion in the Talmud at least. Whether that can be. And
We saw one on a car.
you saw one on a car.
I watched it.
So it will be on an
In
angle.
a video.
Ah, fantastic. So you can have them on a car, on an open truck.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know that's a Chabad
Yeah.
thing there as well.
I remember the Chabad in Tokyo, right in the, I don't know if you know the Shibuya crossing,
Yeah.
like 1 billion people, they had like a mobile sukkah.
Wow, that's
right
on the
in,
crossing.
They just parked it in the middle of the crossing. Yeah, as
Oh,
they do.
amazing. Funny. Yeah, cool. Cool. Anybody else? Anyone? Tell me about your sukkahs. Is anyone their first time in a sukkah? You've all been in a sukkah. Matt, your first time in a sukkah?
Yeah.
Wow, fantastic.
There are two people
I
online.
didn't see you. Sorry,
Great.
it's dark over there.
Excellent. Well, once you step into a sukkah, you're never quite the same again. You've time travelled we've recreated a mini temple here. We've travelled all the way to Jerusalem to give our offerings, and once you step out again, you're going to be a different person. Right? There's a debate as to whether in a sukkah you should fix a mezuzah or not. Like, is it a stable enough place to fix a mezuzah, or is it too transitory? Is it going to just go away so you don't need to make something fixed? And one of the explanations, this discussion of the Talmud again, and one of the explanations I like about this is it's a metaphor for living in the diaspora or being in the land of Israel. Are we stable enough as wandering Jews in the diaspora to fix mezuzahs in our homes, or are we merely transient here and making our way back to Israel, and that's where we should be fixing our mezuzahs? So a sukkah is kind of a symbol between the diaspora and Israel, and also kind of a symbol of transience and permanence, right? We've stepped out of our comfy house. Alexandra, would you prefer being inside the house or inside our sukkah? Be honest. In our house we have all our creature comforts, right? We have aircon, we have fans and
You have to answer. You can say what you feel.
television and phones and food and the rest of it. And in a sukkah, you're out of your house, you're looking into your house and you're thinking, wow, isn't it nice that I have a bedroom and a place to live and a cat and all the rest of it? What is it to be homeless for a week a year? To spend 7 nights sleeping in a sukkah? So we shouldn't just eat and sit in the sukkah, we should sleep in a sukkah as well. I hope you and your brother have been doing that these past few days. With your dad, of course, with your mum, to really fulfill the mitzvah.
No, we've been sitting in the sukkah a few times on Sunday
Excellent.
night and tonight.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not hard to be away from your home, but the sukkah kind of drags us out of our home, out of our world, and forces us to look in and appreciate what we have. At least that's the idea of it.
And this is like the ancient world.
Absolutely. We've gone back to the harvest, right? It's
Yeah.
the end of the harvest season. We're gathering in our crops desperately before the rainy season begins, and we're also taking the tithe of those crops to the temple to offer as a pilgrim festival in Jerusalem as well. So not just simply sitting here in your front garden, but we've transformed in space and in time to somewhere quite other.
And all people had transient shelters. The American Indians had teepees, the Aboriginals had humpies, the Eskimos had igloos, and even Jewish people at one point had this.
Absolutely. And of course it's a metaphor for our bodies too, which house our souls, but temporarily as well. But we think, of course, of permanence. So a lot going on with the symbolism of the Sukkah. Are we ready to pray our Ma'ariv? We're going to move to the Baruch Hu, the call to prayer, page 146. Dan, do you want to lead us in the Baruch Hu? We're going to rise and face to the east, which is...
We were facing that way, this way.
East is this way? Okay, I believe
You're
you.
gonna play a Baruch Hu with me?
No,
or what's
we don't.
Page 146.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed.
Let's be seated. Do you want to continue?
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim v'chokhma potiach she'arim ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרתכם ברקיע כרצונו בורא יום ולילה גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור ומעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים.
Amen. Let's continue with Ahavat Olam. So I think Gary will pray for us.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu lemadata Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbenu Ufkumenu nasiach lechukecha V'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha Mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Ki hem chayenu Le'orech yameinu Uvahem Asir mimenu Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael Ohev Amo Yisrael Shema Shem Kavod Maruta Le'olam Va'ed V'yahavta Et Adonai V'chol Ravcha V'chol Nefshecha V'chol Medecha V'hayu Ha'dvarim Ha'el Asher Achim Etzelecha Hayom Ha'levecha V'shinantam Levanecha V'dibarta Bam ושבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וכשאתה מלאות על ידיך ויהיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם במזוזות ביתך ובשעריך
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים אלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Let's turn in the page to Micha Mocha, which means Song of Redemption.
Mocha Elim Adonai, Mocha Neder Bakodesh, Torah Tegilot Osefele, Torah Tegilot Osefele. Malchutecha Ra'uvanecha, Okei Hayam Lifnei Moshe, Ze Elianu ve'amru, Elianu ve'ameru. Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed Adonai Yimloch Le'olam
נאמר כי פדרנה את יעקב גלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. That is a prayer which mentions God as our Redeemer, and we needed some redemption this week. It's not been a good week, particularly if you're an elderly rabbi. We have two kind of shocking stories. The first from Israel, where the 80-year-old Moshe Yehudai was attacked while picking olives with a group of Palestinians with rabbis for human rights. Was attacked by a bunch of settlers and hospitalized from the blows that they gave him. And a little bit more happily, in London, 77-year-old Rabbi Jeffrey Newman was arrested as part of the Extinction Rebellion protests against climate change. He sat down on the street full in his talit, and the police all came. They told him to move. He's like, no, I can't move, I'm sitting here as a protest. So they bundled him up, dropped him once, put him in the police car as a kind of temporary cell, arrested him. The rest of the Extinction Rebellion Jews, and there are quite a few Jews involved in this Extinction Rebellion group, circled, did hakafot around his police car with their lulavs in protest, and shook their lulavs at the police, praying for Jeffrey, 77, with the shock of his arrest. And he, amongst the British Jews at least, has become a hero figure for rabbis and for Jews everywhere, as someone who's prepared to be arrested for against climate change, which is something he's been talking about for a long time, the environmental problems and everything that goes with it. So he was thankfully released from arrest and is doing perfectly well now. But it's been quite a week for Sukkot and for the Extinction Rebellion part of the community. Okay, let's continue with a more peaceful prayer. Hashkivenu, our bedtime prayer. May we all rest in peace tonight, neither be attacked nor arrested on our way home. Hashkivenu Adonai 160. Shalom Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom Hamidenu Shomei Hamidenu Shomei Ushmor Zetenu Uvoenu Lechayim Shalom Le'ata le'ad olam Hashkivenu Adonai Hashkivenu Shalom
Ashkeinu Adonai, Eloheinu Shalom, Amideinu Shalom, Amideinu
Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Amen. And over the page, let's do the Shamru.
Shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Asot et ha-Shabbat l'dor shavuot olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Asot et ha-Shabbat l'dor shavuot olam. Beini u'bein bnei Yisrael, bnei Yisrael, oti le'olam. V'shamru bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Asot et ha-Shabbat l'dor shavuot olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, asa Adonai, et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. V'shamru bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Asot et ha-Shabbat l'dor shavuot olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamru bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Asot et ha-Shabbat l'dor shavuot olam. V'shamru bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Asot et ha-Shabbat l'dor shavuot olam.
Okay, let's rise for our standing prayer. We'll do it silently. The Amidah begins on page 164. We'll face towards the east again, which is this direction, and we'll pray by ourselves through until all say Shalom.
Shalom Bimroma Uyase Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imru Amen Yase Shalom Yase Shalom Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Yase Shalom Yase Shalom Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Yase Shalom Yase Shalom Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Yase Shalom Yase Shalom Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Yase Shalom Yase Shalom Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Amen.
Let's be seated again. In case any of you noticed in the Amidah, we have certain prayers we say when it's winter, on one line, and certain prayers where we say when it's summer. Which season are we in now? Summer, but next week,
Still summer.
winter. Next week is going to be winter, so we've got to switch in those prayers, which probably more for the northern hemisphere for Israel than for, we're still the northern hemisphere, more for Sweden or France or wherever we come from, the US. Australia, you have it very differently, right?
Yeah, the
It's,
opposite.
the opposite way, but never mind. I've borrowed an article from Haaretz, and I think there's enough for one between two, so if you could just pass these round. 10 things, so go on.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
In Australia, do they switch the prayer, or is it Marid Hatal in their winter as well? Very good question. Let's ask the rabbi.
So I don't know in the Orthodox prayer book, Simon of course can tell us, but I know that they borrowed from the English version of the Amidah, the English prayer book, the liberal prayer book, which has both the prayer for rain and the prayer for dew all the year round, because in England you can be sure that it will rain whatever the month, and so you know the seasons are all mixed up even though we're Northern Hemisphere. And I think they borrowed that too, but I'm not sure. Maybe Jonathan, maybe you guys know.
So what was it?
Pray for winter in winter and summer in summer, or as the Northern Hemisphere does, or whether you switch that prayer.
I think they would switch. I'm just guessing. I think they'd have to switch it, but they just pray for rain, regardless.
Right. Yeah. That's a very good point as well. Okay, 10 things you probably don't know about Sukkot. Who wants to read number 1? Sukkot isn't just a holiday; it is the holiday. Gavin, please take it on for us.
All right.
If anyone, by the way, this is a test. If anyone knows this, and it's not something you probably don't know, you score a point. And let's see who gets the most points. Gavin.
All right. Sukkot isn't just a holiday; it is the holiday.
Who knew that? Sukkot is the holiday.
I do now.
Oh, well,
I didn't know it was the holiday.
Tell us why. Tell us why.
All right. So, today many Jews feel Yom Kippur is the most holy of days in the Jewish calendar.
Who thinks that? Is Yom Kippur most holy day in the Jewish calendar? Yeah, I think that.
Yeah, I think that. You think that too?
Passover is a solemn occasion, and even Hanukkah, an extra-biblical holiday, has risen to prominence, possibly due to its coinciding with Christmas. But it seems that in the time of the First Temple, Sukkot was the most important of holidays. How do we know this? Well, for one thing, Sukkot is mentioned a great many times in the Bible, often referred to as the holiday. Also, the Jewish historian Josephus describes Sukkot as the most holy and important feast. And then there is the matter of the sacrifice.
So 2,000 years ago, Sukkot was the holiday. Who needs Hanukkah? Okay. Marissa, would you continue? The bloodiest holiday. Who knew this?
From last year, I remember you making me do some math in front of a bunch of people.
All right, great.
Like 70 animals were killed?
Well, we'll see. We'll see, maybe.
Oh yeah, you can add these in a second. Let's see.
Different.
In general, Temple Judaism was a very bloody affair with different
It
animals.
didn't say very, but you're quite right to add it.
Yeah.
You're quite right to add it. That's good. I like that. If anyone else wants to change the text, absolutely fine. Just, it's okay.
I just can't read. Let's see. With different animals slaughtered and burned on the altar every single day of the week. But Sukkot was particularly bloody, surpassing all other holidays in the number of animals presented to God. How many animals? Well, in addition to the regular slaughter, on Sukkot the following were added: 70 bulls, 98 sheep, and 14 deer.
How many, Matt? How many?
What? What am I adding?
How many
I think
animals?
it's 182.
180
Yeah.
something, yeah.
Oh, quick.
Yeah, that's
182, that's quick, yeah. That took me a bit of
Oh, I
time.
haven't got it. I don't know how long it is.
Alright, the closest holiday in
sorry.
number of animals offered is Passover, which is a whimpering second with just 14 extra bulls, 98 more sheep, and 7 additional deer. Sacrificed animals were offered to the Lord and were then traditionally devoured by the priests and faithful. On Sukkot, of course, they did this sitting in their sukkah with their tabernacles, or, if you will, their wall-less shelters. And this is because...
Okay, very good. Sam, you had a question?
Oh, I just want to know.
We're on the
is-
brink here to the
is-
next one,
Is,
but tell us.
is God? Because I read this. You know, this book *Sapiens*, right? Yeah. So it talks a bit about all the sacrifice and whatnot. Is God meant to be like a blood-lusting God? I mean, why would He want to have the blood of animals to praise Him? Do you know what I mean?
Because they didn't have in that time, humanity hadn't evolved to have the concept of prayer, of thought being connected to some external being. That really wasn't it was the thought that you had to actually give something, not think something.
Sacrifice needed to involve
Yeah, you had to
a gift.
physically, yeah.
That sounds good, except this year on Yom Kippur I suddenly worked out that either God doesn't fast on Yom Kippur or He doesn't eat the sacrifices. Because in Yom Kippur we also have sacrifices, and I thought to myself, the first time it hit me, like, what's going on? Like, we're sacrificing these animals to God? You know, is God enjoying them, or maybe God doesn't eat, or what's going on? Doesn't fast. So that came across me too. But yeah, absolutely. 2,000 years ago, things said that things needed to be visible, like stages of a child. At first, you need to things need to be there physically. Then maybe you can just talk about them and they understand it. And Maimonides said that one day we wouldn't need prayer; we'd just have meditation. That we wouldn't even need to voice the words in order to give them. We could just think them and communicate with the divine that way. But he said we hadn't got there yet, but one day we will. And how many of us do yoga or meditation
Yeah.
here? And that's a spiritual exercise.
Yeah, but I can't meditate. I can just for my body. I can't do any.
Right. So one day, Maimonides gives us hope that one day we'll get there. Yeah. Sarah, would you continue?
Wait, why are we sitting in Greece? Leviticus tells us that we must sit through Sukkot in memory of the Exodus from Egypt. Modern researchers suspect that this is the latter addition to the biblical lore and is a reinterpretation of a more ancient tradition. For one, this reason is not mentioned anywhere in the Bible, nor does the Leviticus passage itself allude to a specific event in the desert. And moreover, nomads in the desert use cats, not boots. They don't like sand in their eyes any more than the next guy. So where did this tradition originate? One leading theory is that the booths are a distant memory of farmers temporarily housing themselves under impromptu shelters in the field to protect the crops during the harvest. The holiday is most certainly of agricultural origin. In fact, one of its names is the Festival of Ingathering. Another widely accepted theory is that during the holiday, great multitudes that came to Jerusalem for the festival would put up booths to live in during the week-long festivities. They filled the city with booths and thus gave us the holiday the name Feast of the Tabernacle. And while they were all celebrating together.
Okay, thank you. So that's a few reasons for why we sit in a booth. Lauren, would you continue?
Sure.
Sukkot is a time for public reading. Here we go, public reading. Excellent.
Sukkot is a time for public reading. On the second day of Sukkot, everyone, women and children are specifically mentioned, were to attend a public reading in the Torah, by the king in the Temple of Jerusalem. This tradition was sadly discontinued in the year 70 with the destruction of the Second Temple by Romans, who may have been deeply religious in their own way, but were certainly goyim.
Thank you. Goyim, quite a harsh word for an Haaretz article, but we'll run with it for now. Matt, would you continue? Sukkot is for the Goyim, but not yet.
Sukkot is for the Goyim, but not yet. Oh, thank you so much. As you too may be, dear reader, are you not Jewish, but you'd like to participate in the holiday? Well, worry not.
There we go.
There we go.
Good to have you here.
According to the prophet Zechariah, after the end of days, Sukkot will be the main During this holiday, people the world over will come to Jerusalem and worship God in the temple in Jerusalem. For those who fail to show, we are told, rain will be withheld. Their fields will wither, and they will not be able to grow anything, let alone.
Thank you. So it's got a cosmic significance, this sukkah. Again,
We're actually passing over to Matt.
fine.
We're pretending it's Passover.
Great. The 4 species, Matt.
I was killed. The 4 species. What species? One of the best known symbols of Sukkot is the 4 species. The citron, the closed frond of a palm tree, boughs of myrtle, and branches of willow, which are ceremoniously shaken during the holiday. If these are almost certainly a later addition to the holiday, they sure aren't mentioned in the Bible. In the context of Sukkot, the Bible does list 4 plants, but of the 4, only one, the palm, is identifiable. The willow, myrtle, and citron were only introduced to Palestine after the Babylonian captivity. It was only during the time of the Talmud that what can be rendered fancy fruit was interpreted as an etrog, whose name, together with the fruit itself, was brought by the Persians from India by that time. At least you don't have to shake the etrog, though.
Okay, and we have one of our lulavs here tonight. If anyone hasn't had a chance to shake it yet and wants to have a little shake of it later, they're very welcome. We have the etrog in the box here too. Okay, so please feel free. Would you continue?
We're supposed to do what with these branches? The passage in Leviticus describing the 4 species doesn't actually say what is to be done with them. It just says we should take them. The book of Nehemiah interprets Leviticus as meaning take the branches, here they are olive, pine, myrtle, and fig tree branches, in addition palm fronds, and build booths from them. The Karaites, taking Nehemiah's lead and rejecting the teaching of the rabbis, also interpret the passage in Leviticus as being an extension of the call to build booths. They therefore eschewed the shaking of the 4 species that Jews have practiced since the time of the Second Temple. But not everybody thinks the species are for shaking.
So has anyone been to a Karaite synagogue or met any Karaites?
If they were white?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw at the wall there was, and you had a bit of a posse happening.
Oh, very nice. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I've been to one of the Karaite synagogues in the old city. I made the most terrible faux pas though of walking in, because of course they have carpets and they take off their shoes at the entrance, and so they were shouting at me and my friends as we were stupidly kind of walking in. Okay. But once we took our shoes off, we understood that. Okay.
Not everyone might know what Karaites are.
Okay, so Karaites are a sect of Judaism who reject everything that comes from the rabbis. So they were found before that time, or they take themselves from before that time, and they follow only biblical laws. So anything that the rabbis have said that we should do, and that includes changes to the prayers or changes to the sukkah or to the lulav and the etrog in this case, they reject it because it's not true Judaism.
So it's literally what's in the Torah word for word.
I mean, it's always hard to be literal. I mean, I think there's always like shades of metaphor, even with them too. But yeah, the idea is that they try to follow the Torah Judaism, and so there aren't so many of them. They don't like intermarriage outside with Jews. Best to marry another Karaite, and that hasn't been a very successful policy. But yeah, they're still going, and they consider themselves part of Israel in some sense, but not. But the rest of us have all gone wrong in our interpretations. Good. Okay. You can always use your etrog to pelt a king. Jonathan, did you read it?
Yep. In addition to being king of Judea from 106 to 76 BCE during his reign, Alexandra Jannaeus was also the high priest. One year during Sukkot, the Jewish historian Josephus tells us, the king priest decided to show his allegiance to the Sadducees over the Pharisees regarding a Sukkot tradition which involved pouring water mixed with wine over the burnt carcass of a lamb.
Again, we're talking about sects in Judaism. We think we have Orthodox and Reform, and we're so different today. There have been Karaites, there have been Pharisees and Sadducees. The Pharisees were a bit closer to the rabbinic tradition of Judaism. The Sadducees took things differently. There were Essenes as well at the same time.
The thing is, the Sadducees felt this water nonsense was a new and unwelcome addition to to the cultic worship. So to appease them and annoy the Pharisees, instead of pouring the water on the lamb, as was the custom, Alexander Jannaeus poured the water on his feet. The crowd that surrounded King Alexander Jannaeus, a crowd made up mostly of Pharisees, was shocked and dismayed by his actions. They responded by pelting him with the etrogim they held. This prompted the king to order the guards to slaughter the attendants. We are told 6,000 perished. Needless to say, he wasn't a popular monarch. What you can't do with an etrog, by the way, is eating the thing, though some try to make jams and the like with it.
Even vodka. Vodka. So is this why you named your daughter Alexandra over this unpopular king?
No. We named her after her grandfather. Her grandfather was Alexander.
Okay. So different Alexander.
He was a popular king.
He was a popular king. Okay, good. Okay, Simon, cabbage.
Cabbage. I eat it. It's tradition.
Does anyone have this tradition to eat cabbage at Sukkot?
No,
not yet.
There's an Ashkenazi tradition of eating cabbage, usually stuffed on Sukkot. This is because on the 7th day of Sukkot, Jews traditionally chant a prayer called Kol Mevaser.
And Conrad can tell us the joke here. Kol Mevaser. The pun. What is kol? Das ist kol.
Voice?
Is it not cabbage? No, in German.
Kohl.
Kohl. Sorry, here we go.
What's the joke here?
Sorry.
And kol, which in Hebrew means voice, is the Yiddish word for cabbage. And while chewing cruciferous delicacies, you can think about this. Cruciferous.
Yeah, growing from the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a bit that big right now. Cruciferous? Oh, there you go. There's another person. I think. Goodness.
Excellent.
Okay, who's heard of cruciferous? Thank you.
Where did you stop?
You're clever. You know what it means.
That's the last section.
Well,
tell us things that happened while you were sitting in your sukkah.
While you were in the sukkah. The Jews were sitting in their Sukkot when in 1187 the Crusaders of Jerusalem capitulated to Saladin. It was Sukkot too when the Israeli army conquered Beersheba in 1948. The Cuban Missile Crisis erupted in 1962. The British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher survived an IRA assassination attempt in the Brighton Hotel bombing of 1984. The Temple Mount riots that left 17 Palestinians dead and over 100 wounded in 1990 also took place on Sukkot. The Million Man March took place in Washington, D.C. in Sukkot of 1995. It was during Sukkot and following 9/11 the U.S. invaded Afghanistan in 2001. Saddam Hussein's trial opened during Sukkot 2005 and Muammar Gaddafi was captured and killed during Sukkot 6 years later in 2011. This was the same Sukkot that Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit was released from Hamas captivity.
So I'm not really sure how it sits here, but a lot of these things are not that great. So I don't know what it's trying to tell us, but a lot of things happen during Sukkot each year. I guess that's what it is. Okay, so hopefully, who scored 10 out of 10 on that quiz? 11. Thanks, Gail. Different point scale, I'm sure. And let's continue with the Aleinu. So let's rise. We're on page 586, or over the page.
500 what?
586. It's towards the end. Aleinu Shabbat Adon HaKol Latek Jilal Yotzeh Bereshit Shelo Asana Kegeheret Zod Velo Samana K'mishpachot Adama Shelo Sam Kelkeinu Gahem V'gor Aleinu K'chol Hamonam V'nachnu Korim U'mishtachavim U'modim לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא כשמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב יקרה בשמיים ממעל ושכינת זו גוהי מרומים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום, וידעת היום, וחשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ ועל הארץ, מתחת אנוש. ונאמר, היה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Before we say the Kaddish, it can be found on page 598. We think of those with whom we've sat in sukkahs in previous years and who are no longer with us to sit with us this year. In particular, in this community, we think of Malka Bat Leza Vachaya, Shalom Berman, David Rabin, Leah Bat Yoshua Mashagil, Yisrael Zeev Ben Shreger, Stephanie Gray, Samuel Gershik, Israel Stern, Moses Ben Simcha Bunim Halevi Vagolda, Yudah Tzvi Ben Nachum, Hinda Malka Bat Yosef, Bina Ben Yamina Bat Moshe, Rachel Bat Baruch, Yeshua Ben Avraham, and Helen Miller. We'll say the Kaddish prayer in their honor. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be a blessing. Yit Gadal, Yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, Yalma Divrach Yurotei, Yamlich Malchutei, B'chayachon u'b'yomechon u'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman karev imru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Barach le'olam al almei al maya. Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitpa'ah, Yitroman v'yitnaseh, Yitada, Yitalei, Yitalal, Shemei d'kudsha berichu. Le'ela min kol bichata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiran bi'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei Shlema Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chayim eleni v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Osei Shalom imramav, hu ya'asei Shalom, eleni v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Please be seated. Just a few announcements of things that are coming up. Unless Matt, you want to give them announcements? No. So tomorrow morning, just a question. Tomorrow morning we have 9:30 our morning Shabbat morning service. Not here, but in the Goldstein Sukkah, which is of the edible variety. So we're going to be eating our Sukkah tomorrow morning, 9:30. Monday morning we're celebrating Simchat Torah, 7:30 in the UHC office. We have a lunch and learn on next Thursday, led by a speaker who is setting up a Sephardi museum for Sephardi Jewry in Paris. Should be very interesting. Friday night we're at the American Club for our big celebration of Simchat Torah on Shabbat evening a week from today, and then next week Tuesday we have the new Israeli ambassador coming to talk to us for a lunch and learn about the state of the world in the Middle East.
And the Saturday after the Friday is Ava Goldstein.
So we have a bat mitzvah a week Saturday as well, and everybody's welcome to come. Yeah. Anything else I've forgotten?
Monday
Big thank you
Minyan. Monday Minyan.
Monday Minyan. We have Simchat Torah Minyan this Monday, 7:30 in the morning. Absolutely. Big thank you to Jonathan and to Elizabeth, to Alexandra and to Leonard for hosting us so beautifully again in the Sukkah tonight, and a big thank you to our musicians, to Alvaro, to Gabby, and to Dan, and to all of you for being here. So one final song. What do we got?
Adon Olam. What page is that on?
625.
Hashem Allah Terem Kol Yitzir Yivra Ve'ed Nasa Sokol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Yacharei Yikvot HaKol Levado Yimloch Norah Hu Haya Ve'hu Oved Ve'hu Yeh V'Tizparah Adon Olam Hashem Alach B'Terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Hasav HaChepsa Kol Azay Melech Shemonika Yacharechi Plota Kol Levado Yimloch Norav Hu Haya V'Hu Hoved Hu Yeh V'Tifara Adon Olam Hashem Alach B'Terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Hasav HaChepsa Kol Azay Melech Shemonika Yacharechi Plota Kol Levado Yimloch Norav Hu Haya V'Hu Hoved V'Tifara V'Hu Haya V'Hu Hoved V'Tifara.
Shabbat Shalom, Hag Sameach.
Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach.
Hag Sameach. Great, let's make Kiddush. Let's make Kiddush. You would like to make Kiddush, no?
I can sing it, but I can't hold that.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just wait for that.
Yeah, we do.
Wait till I see that. Yeah.
I have this.
Pass these around. Take those.
Yeah, that was a
Alright, 2 more.
Like if I landed on myself, I kind of like, yeah.
All good?
Yeah, open that. This is white.
Maybe you could put one here.
Sure.
Everyone got?
Stop.
Oh, wait.
I've got one.
ויהי בוקר יום השישי ובכל השמיים והארץ וכל צבע העם וכל החיים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה וברך אלוהים יום השביעי וקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברכים לעשות ברוך אתה אדוני לכם מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן ברוך אתה אדוני לכם מלך העולם אשר הקדישנו מצוותיו ורצה לנו בשבת קודשו ורב ורצון הנה לנו זיכרונו בראשית כי הוא יום תקלה מקור זכר ליציאת מצרים כיוונו והלת ותנו קידשת מכל העמים בשבת קודשו ורצון הנה נחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קדישנו מצוותיו וציוונו לשבת בסוכה.
Sit down again.
The mitzvah and then your mitzvah.
Thank you.
Sit down again. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ.
Amen.
That's the last goal.
Yeah, that's
I need to
Why not?
Oh, man, thank you.
I'll pass it in.
There we are.
We're 3 people.
One more over here, please.
Are you saying the bracha?
Who made it? Red lines.
It was that.
He said it, yeah.
Everyone got?
One more, please.
Please. Who's missing?
One more. Yep. Thank you.
These were these make or buy? Were these make or buy?
Personality.
Was it challah make or buy? Oh, we made them. It's good.
Do you need more wine or you're ready to done?
Maybe after eating.
After that, no?
Yeah. When people get to it. I'm ready now, but not
the shake this year.
So this is
Yeah,
my
I've
power.
Very
No,
good
I
Compliments to
haven't.
the chef.
Really good.
Huh?
Do we have to shake it?
No, but I haven't done it. I haven't done it this year.
Shabbat shalom.
Like you have to shake it in a specific way.
So I put it over the
Yeah,
thread.
correct.
It's up and down, right and left, and
You can make dance or joke.
No, as long as she has ladies and fresh.
and you have a benediction as well.
Come again?
You have a blessing.
Yes. They took it and then they gave it back to
Yeah, but I don't think you do this.
Beautiful food.
I'm gonna wash my hands as well, actually.
Yeah. I'd take it inside.
Yeah, so let's go back now and just quite fierce. They kept her now to as well, but
I have no idea. Hey, whoever you are.
So the blood test takes like 5
Hi. You are? Marissa Conrad, okay.
Gavin, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Gavin. And I didn't know you. Dan.
Yeah.
Alright, nice to meet you, Conrad.
Dan, I'm sure you get told this all the time, but you look like an actor, an American actor an Italian American actor who plays these Italian American roles.
I don't think I get told it all the time.
Oh, well, if you're like the doppelganger, whatever it's
Who
called.
is it?
I
Oh.
forget it, so I'm going to find out.
Italian American
Robert
actor.
De
It's
Niro.
not like
No,
Michael
no, no,
Pacino.
no.
Alvin.
No, you absolutely, like when I saw you on Yom Kippur, whenever it was,
You thought it was.
I thought I got a fried.
Sorry to disappoint you. No, I've never gotten that before. I often get told I look like people, but
He
not an
plays
Italian
in
American.
roles like with Joe Pesci, whatever his name is, and De Niro, and no, he plays alongside them. Kind of like second, what do you call it? Like not lead roles,
Like
but
Like a bit player, right?
supporting roles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you if you have a look at him, have you ever seen him before?
I'm getting an Italian vibe, but I think it's just the mustache.
Well, I assure you, I have no Italian blood, but
I think you might.
take it.
Just,
none that I'm aware of.
All right.
I'll hedge my bets on that one. Yeah, well, that's interesting. No, I don't get that very often. I used to get that I looked like John Lennon pretty often when I had longer hair.
Back in the days.
Right, way back, a few months ago.
Yeah. Oi, Matt. Good, good, thanks. I didn't see you before. You're all dark. Yeah. A week and a half ago, I think. Yeah. Huh?
If you want to eat, go ahead.
I've chanted them all before. I tell you, I've heard them chanted before. And you can definitely tell this one's a reform translation. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Psalm 133. I already had two. Because in the Latin and the Vulgate.
So, have you been listening to Schoenberg religiously since our last meeting?
I
it's like one of the few conversations that I distinctly remember.
I don't think I've listened to a second.
I don't know. That doesn't surprise me.
I've listened to more environmental music with an open mind, though.
Okay, I forgot who you showed.
I play by ear.
Liggity I showed you, but that's not Liggity. Liggity, do you remember Liggity? Environmental music, I don't remember. That might not have been. Oh,
Some things
yeah.
I play them good, but then...
Like ambient music. Yeah.
But with the little I know, I used to be the finest of my synagogue.
Some of his stuff could be counted as that.
Yeah. But because it's the same sounds over and over and over again, I know how to play them, but...
Sorry?
But if you would take me out of
Yeah,
that
that's alright. I haven't listened to much either.
Time to eat. Is it even for musicians?
Alvaro, it's a lovely guitar, this instrument.
You played fine.
Oh, thank you.
There was a great Singapore Airlines roll. I went through and then it said Singaporean only.
Yeah, they
Singaporean and PR only.
They're trying to move me to like 4 days a week.
So they want to eat first, and maybe later they will do some dancing. I don't think.
Okay. Is that what they're here for?
You are 3 people online.
We have no way of knowing who they are, huh?
I know my mom is one.
There was like the garden.
It's a good idea to keep it.
So I start by writing.
Whoever is still online, Shabbat Shalom. We're going to stop the streaming now. Have a nice Shabbat.